Hey, it's Darius. Here's an opportunity to join my I-75 CMA Facebook group. It's brand new, so you could be one of the early influencers. I'll leave a link in the description. A big part of the exam is on ethics, so let's start with the IMA Statement of Ethical Professional Practice. In this video, we'll do the 4 key principles of the IMA, starting with honesty, which means upholding truthfulness and avoiding misrepresentation or deception in communication and action. A management accountant provides accurate financial projections to investors, even when the projections show lower than expected profits. Why? Honesty. Then there's fairness, ensuring impartiality, equity, and justice in dealing with stakeholders. Discriminating against a coworker, for example, based on personal bias, that directly violates fairness. The accountant ensures that all vendor bids are evaluated equally, regardless of personal relationships with the vendors. Why? Fairness. And then there's objectivity, avoiding biases and conflicts of interest in decision making. The accountant discloses a personal financial interest in a client's business before participating in any decision making related to that client. Otherwise, you can't be objective. And then responsibility, being accountable for ethical behavior and maintaining compliance with the law. The accountant promptly reports a compliance violation discovered during an internal audit and takes corrective action to address it. Refusing to correct a misstatement violates responsibility. So what kind of questions could they ask you about the 4 key principles? How about this? Which of the following is not one of the 4 principles outlined in the IMA Statement of Ethical Professional Practice? A, honesty, B, responsibility, C, objectivity, and D, accountability. And the answer is D. Accountability is not listed as one of the 4 principles in the IMA Statement of Ethical Professional Practice. The IMA principles focus on honesty, fairness, objectivity, and responsibility as the core ethical foundations for management accountants and financial professionals. Therefore, accountability is the correct choice for what is not part of the principles. A is wrong. Honesty is one of the 4 principles. It emphasizes truthfulness and transparency in communication and professional behavior. B is wrong. Responsibility is a key principle, highlighting the need for management accountants to act ethically, comply with laws, and be accountable for their decisions and actions. C is wrong. Objectivity is one of the IMA principles, requiring management accountants to remain unbiased in their decision-making, ensuring fairness and impartiality in their professional actions. And this question asked which of the following is not one of the 4 principles outlined in the IMA Statement of Ethical Professional Practice, and the answer is D, accountability. How about this? What's the primary purpose of the IMA Statement of Ethical Professional Practice? A, to set standards for financial reporting? No. B, to provide ethical guidelines for management accountants and financial professionals? That sounds better. C, to establish accounting standards for public companies? No. Letter B is correct. The IMA Statement of Ethical Professional Practice is primarily designed to offer ethical guidelines and standards for management accountants and financial professionals. It aims to ensure ethical conduct, integrity, and transparency in the accounting profession. And the question asked, what's the primary purpose of the IMA Statement of Ethical Professional Practice? And the answer is B, to provide ethical guidelines for management accountants and financial professionals. All right, according to the IMA Statement of Ethical Professional Practice, which of the following actions best exemplifies the principle of fairness? A says refusing to report a compliance violation to protect a colleague. B, avoiding personal financial gain in decision making. C, ensuring that all employees have equal access to training opportunities. D, disclosing all conflicts of interest to supervisors. So we're looking for the principle of fairness here, and the answer is what? C is correct, ensuring that all employees have equal access to training opportunities. The fairness principle emphasizes impartiality and equity in professional dealings. Ensuring that all employees have equal access to training opportunities demonstrates fairness, as it involves treating everyone equitably and providing equal chances for development. A is wrong. Refusing to report a compliance violation, that violates the principles of responsibility and honesty, as it involves withholding important information that should be disclosed to uphold ethical standards. It's not really related to fairness. B is wrong. Avoiding personal financial gain aligns more directly with the principle of objectivity, which focuses on remaining unbiased in professional decisions. It does not specifically relate to fairness. And D is wrong. Disclosing conflicts of interest is part of objectivity, which requires transparency to avoid biased decision making. And while that's important, it's not directly addressing fairness. And the question asked, according to IMA's statement of ethical professional practice, which of the following actions best exemplifies the principle of fairness? And the answer is C, ensuring that all employees have equal access to training opportunities. How about this? Which IMA principle requires management accountants to avoid biases and conflicts of interest in decision making? Is that honesty, objectivity, fairness, or responsibility? And the answer is B. Objectivity requires management accountants to be impartial and unbiased in decision making, ensuring that personal interests or biases do not affect professional judgment, and this helps to avoid conflicts of interest. A is wrong because honesty focuses on truthfulness and transparency in communication and action. While honesty is essential in ethical behavior, honesty does not specifically address bias or conflicts of interest. And C is wrong. Fairness, as we saw in the previous question, involves treating all parties the same, equitably. While it promotes just behavior, it does not directly target the avoidance of bias and conflicts of interest because that's covered by objectivity. And D is wrong. Responsibility involves being accountable for one's ethical behavior and compliance with laws and regulations. However, responsibility does not specifically address biases or conflicts of interest, which are directly covered by the principle of objectivity. And this question asked which IMA principle requires management accountants to avoid biases and conflicts of interest in decision making, and the answer is B, objectivity. All right, which of the following actions is a violation of the IMA principle of responsibility? A says failing to disclose an error in financial statements to management. Well, that would be your responsibility as an accountant. If you see an error and you fail to disclose it, that sounds like a responsibility violation. B, allowing personal interest to influence professional judgment. That sounds more like objectivity than responsibility. C, not treating all clients equitably regardless of personal relationships. That sounds like fairness, not responsibility. And D, misrepresenting financial information to protect a manager's reputation. Now you're being dishonest. That's an honesty violation. Letter A is correct. Failing to disclose an error in financial statements violates the responsibility principle as it undermines accountability. B is wrong because allowing personal interest to influence professional judgment violates objectivity as it involves bias and conflicts of interest. It doesn't directly relate to responsibility. And C is wrong, not treating all clients equitably. That violates the fairness principle. And D is wrong, misrepresenting financial information to protect a manager's reputation violates the honesty principle as it involves deliberate misrepresentation of information. And the question asked, which of the following actions is a violation of the IMA principle of responsibility? And the answer is A, failing to disclose an error in financial statements to management. How about this? An accountant deliberately inflates revenue figures to meet quarterly targets. Which IMA principle is most directly violated? Is that fairness, honesty, objectivity, or responsibility? And the answer is B. Honesty requires management accountants to provide truthful and accurate information. Deliberately inflating revenue figures is a clear violation of honesty as it involves intentional misrepresentation of financial data. A is wrong. Fairness focuses on treating others impartially and equitably. Manipulating revenue figures primarily represents dishonesty rather than a breach of fairness. Objectivity involves avoiding biases and conflicts of interest. While inflating revenue figures can result from bias or pressure, the action itself is more directly a violation of honesty. And D is wrong. Responsibility involves adhering to laws, regulations, and ethical conduct. Although responsibility is relevant to overall ethical behavior, the direct violation here is dishonesty in financial reporting. And the question asked, an accountant deliberately inflates revenue figures to meet quarterly targets. Which IMA principle is most directly violated? And the answer is honesty, letter B. All right, an accountant ensures compliance with regulations and corrects errors promptly. Which IMA principle does this action demonstrate? Is that honesty, fairness, objectivity, or responsibility? And if you think you know, leave me the answer in the comments section. And if you're struggling with the CMA exam or the CPA exam, and you found this video helpful and want to see the rest of it and more videos like it, get yourself on I-75 with me, Darius Clark. I'll leave a link in the description. You see the menu bar at the top. If you're a CMA candidate, you click here and choose Part 1 or Part 2. I-75 CMA is the only material that you'll need to pass the exam. You might have other stuff, but you won't need it. So whether it's CMA or CPA, go to i75cpareview.com and get yourself on I-75 with me, Darius Clark, because the right teacher makes all the difference.